7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
International superstar, Miss Mother B. Rocker.
You are now tuned in to Butter B. Rocker on Transparency Talks Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. I am your girl, Butterby Rocker. Listen, we have an amazing show for you today. But before I bring on my special guest, thank you guys so much for all of the warm welcomes at BBR Indie Film and warm wishes for my birthday. Your girl turned 48. She is here. Thank God. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that did come out and that has wished me well. I truly appreciate you guys. So he is an actor, a director, a writer, and an acting coach. Can you please show some love for Mr. J. Jones?
There she
Hello.
is. Queen B, happy belated birthday. Great to see you again.
It is wonderful to see you. How you doing?
Excellent. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing great. You know, we on this side of the world, and there's a lot of people that did not wake up. So I can't complain. I'm in the right state of mind. Yes. I have a roof over my head and all the other good jazz. So I'm good.
I love it. You know, I got a little saying. I say an attitude of gratitude will give you more to be grateful for.
Yep.
So as long as you got that attitude of gratitude, you are definitely doing the right thing.
Absolutely. So, Jay, I like to dive right on in. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm just a little country boy from Savannah, Georgia, born down by the river. I grew up in Savannah, and I went to Morehouse College in the 90s. I started playing football at a very early age, and I played all the way up until high school. I got pretty good, but my junior year of high school, I met with a calamity. I broke my neck in a football game. Oh. And as a result of the injury, clearly I wasn't able to play ball anymore, but I had to wear this brace that I wore to school. After the surgeries, I was able to go back to school in this brace. And it wasn't just a regular whiplash collar. It was a halo brace where they screwed the points in your head and your shoulders with little bars and stuff. It was a contraption. So I'm sitting in class one day, my English class, and my favorite teacher, Julie Bath, who was the English instructor, and also the drama teacher, assigned roles to everybody in the classroom for this Greek tragedy called Oedipus, or Antigone. It was called Antigone. I played Oedipus in the little play. And unbeknownst to me, I was able to really pour a lot of the angst and disappointment and hurt, because it was a Greek tragedy, so it was a sad play, and I was in a sad state of mind. So needless to say, I poured a lot of energy into my little role in class. And my teachers was like, you need to come down to the theater. And that was in 1990. And I've been acting ever since.
Wow. That's an incredible story. My son goes to, well, he went to Savannah State, and now he's his senior year, he's going to Albany. So.
HBCU though, I'm proud of.
Yep, HBCU all day, HBCU. All day.
That's right.
Okay. So we see how you got started. You got the bug. It felt great. And when did you start? How did you inch into doing film and television? And
it was the natural progression that I always tell young actors. I started in theater, like I said, in high school. Came to Morehouse and majored in theater and English, and did a lot of cross-pollination with the AUC, the Spelman students, the Clark Atlanta students. And I'd worked in choreo poems and all the plays that they did in the AUC. And I auditioned for a show from the radio. It was a huge casting call on the radio. And it was a show by a gentleman named Shelly Garrett. And a lot of people may not know Shelley Garrett, and it's not that long ago. It's not that old history. But Shelley Garrett was the predecessor of Tyler Perry. So Shelley was touring. He had a play called The Laundromat, The Beauty Shop, and all these different Black experience stage plays. So I auditioned for one of those plays and got a job and left college to go tour with Shelley Garrett for 2 years. So I toured with him, and we went across the country. I did this play. It was wonderful. The pay was great. And then when I came back to Atlanta, I decided that it was time to go, to move. So ultimately, I ended up in Pittsburgh, doing plays in Pittsburgh. A partner of mine started a theater in Pittsburgh. So this is the early 2000s. I was in Pittsburgh and stayed there for 2 years. And the natural progression was New York. So I ended up in New York and lived in Harlem for a while. And I lived in New York, but was doing regional theater across the country. So I met my wife in New York doing a play. We met doing a play together at the Billie Holiday Theater in the Bronx, or in Brooklyn. And we ended up deciding our play went to the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem. It was a two-person love story called Plenty of Time. And we decided at the National Black Theater Festival that we were going to try to go to LA and be a part of the film and TV world. This was in 2004. And we went out and we did it, and I hated it. Did not like it because I'm a theater guy. My wife actually is a theater woman, clearly, but she was able to get a great agent in LA, and she started kind of booking maybe about 6 months after we moved there. And so her career took off in LA, and I stayed into the theater, stayed doing theater, started a company. That's when my entrepreneurial business came in. I started a personal training company in LA. We used to do boot camps in the park, and then we moved to in-home personal training. Did that for 8 years, ran that company called J. Jones Inspiration, Not Intimidation Training. So then my wife got a job with Tyler Perry in Atlanta in 2015 on a show called If Loving You Is Wrong. And we came to Atlanta to visit, and where she shot the first season, went back to LA. Then we came back the second season and decided that we would stay in Atlanta this time. And the film and TV thing was so big in Atlanta, I decided, I felt more comfortable auditioning here. It was just because I'd gotten my SAG card back in '98 doing a movie in Atlanta called Trois. It was a little movie, Will Packer's first movie. He was working with a company called Rainforest Productions. And so I was a part of that film. So I had a SAG card from Atlanta. So it was only right to reinvigorate my acting career for film and TV here in Atlanta. So I started auditioning in 2015, and 10 years later, I booked a gig on P Valley, and it was a lot of smaller roles leading up to that, but P Valley is the biggest role to date. I'm in all the episodes of this new season 3, and the character is a tremendous part of the story arc. So, it took 10 years, but the grind paid off.
You know what? I'm actually glad that you said 10 years because a lot of new people rather, think that you can I want to be an actor, and all of a sudden you're going to be on TV and you're going to be on all these films and you're going to get these top tier, roles and everything. But it does take time. In these 10 years, how were you getting developed? Were you taking acting classes?
Absolutely. Okay. So I started, I had tons of experience as an actor, but I was a theater actor. So I'd worked on all the stages. I had a very strong theater muscle developed. So I thought I knew how to act, but because you're acting on a different medium, one of the casting directors in the city, when I was early in my career here, told my agents, we see potential in Jay, but he needs to know how to act in front of the camera. So, because we were still going in for the live auditions, and I would blow them away in the live auditions. But then they would say, I don't know if it'll translate to film and TV. So ultimately, I took a class with a gentleman by the name of Greg Allen Williams. So Greg Allen Williams redefined my whole mentality because he made me aware that the self-tape phenomenon was very good for the actor, because we would be auditioning on the medium in which we would work,
Mm-hmm.
which made sense to me. So I started really honing in on auditioning in front of the camera, working with cameras, and it changed my whole the style of acting. You don't have to be as big. So yes, to your point, I did small roles. I took what I get. Actors act. Excuse me. I did independent films when they were available, and I honed my ability to really bring it down
Mm-hmm.
over time. And as I got better roles.
Right.
You know.
Now, I started off in theater as well, and I actually write plays. Right. Well,
Yes.
I wrote a play. Had 6 master recording artists in a play, and they wanted to take it on the road for 6 months. Um, it's a major difference doing plays than stepping into TV and film.
Indeed.
Can you tell us what the difference was for you?
Oh, the difference is in theater, you have to play to the entire room. You have to be big enough to fill an auditorium with your presence.
Right.
So clearly, you have to be a more animated actor. You have to exaggerate certain things to be bigger. In film and TV, it's much more natural.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more intimate. So you can whisper even if you need to, and the microphone will catch it. You can make the smallest and slightest facial movement, and the camera will catch it. You don't have to be big. You don't have to open your eyes big or mug, because it looks unnatural on the camera, because everything is so much more intimate and small. So, and then you can be more introspective. It's just all much smaller in front of the camera, because technology is zooming in. You can, even to what the eyes you're looking at. If you're looking at the person in the scene with you, the camera picks up your eyes. So if you're looking directly at their forehead, then it looks like you looking someplace else. If you got to choose an eye, then pick that eye and stare in it. And it's typically the eye closest to the camera. So these small subtleties, and then you have to understand it's a formula on film and TV.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to be brilliant. You just need to be believable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to put as much on it for film and TV. You just have to be believable.
Yeah.
Because they got their scripts. This thing been on the air for 3 seasons. They know what works. They don't want you coming in doing your theatrical stuff to try to stand out. But
Right.
They cast you based on your look and your objective. Your difference has already made you stand out.
Exactly.
You ain't got to do much when you get there.
Exactly. Now, do you like in-person auditions, or do you prefer this new age, everybody's doing it online?
That's a great question. At first, I was very intimidated by the camera stuff, because it was technical to me. I used to like to go into the room and have the connection, but now I'm spoiled. I'm like, technology is showing me I don't have to drive. I can do it as many times as I want to do it.
Right.
I don't have to worry about talking to nobody when I get there, or hearing anybody doing their auditions, which can sometimes get into your head. So that I love, the intimacy of being able to do it as many times as I want, not having to drive and not having to talk to nobody. Those are all advantages.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You had a reoccurring role on Sweet Magnolias.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
What was it joining the show and your role?
So Sweet Magnolia was so fascinating to me, because it was a little engine that could. I had auditioned for several parts on the show, and they called me to play Vernon, the youngest member of the Veteran Society, So I got an opportunity to work with some of the coolest older actors in the city of Atlanta. My God, I can't remember my brother's name who played opposite me. I can't recall his name right now, but he was 82 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And his stories between takes would fill up a bathtub with just stories about early Atlanta and how he got into business. So just being on that set was wonderful. And then the reception of the show, the way people responded to it, and I mean, it's still going strong. It just shows you that good, wholesome entertainment still works. You know what I'm saying? I think it's an idyllic show, and I think people want idyllic stuff today. I think Sweet Magnolia has really shown that people would sit down and watch something without gratuity in it.
Yeah. So Sweet Magnolias is completely different from a P-Valley.
It's completely different.
It's completely different. How is that transition?
It's been crazy because the thing is, when I saw P-Valley, I was a fan of the show before. And of course, I tell people all the time, P-Valley is like a delicious gumbo. It's something in it for everybody, but sometimes you're going to spit some of that shit out.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to spit some stuff out because you just don't like it.
Yeah.
But the overall gumbo is delicious. And that's what I tell people even to this day. P-Valley is gratuitous, but it's not gratuitous in the sense that I think it doesn't have artistic merit. Because P-Valley is written and curated by a Pulitzer Prize winning author. Katori Hall is a genius. She's a playwright. She writes films. Speaking of diversity, she's done, her latest show is the Tina Turner Experience. And then we have season 3 of P-Valley, which is an artistic tour de force. I really cannot wait for people to see this 3rd season. I know it's been a long time coming, but we really believe that we've done some work that will satisfy the anticipation that's built up over the past 3 years, because we've taken our time. It has been very carefully created from, again, on its face, there's so many stereotypes that people can say, it's this, it's that. When you bear witness to it, you will most definitely see the artistry in this season. It is something beautiful to behold. And I can't wait for the world to see it.
So I don't know if since it's not out yet, if you can tell us who your character is or a little bit about your character.
Certainly.
Okay.
So my character was introduced briefly in season 2. So for those who know the show, there was a character that was in season 2 who we had a funeral for, and at the funeral, I told one of the other main characters that we had to handle some business, and it set off a whole spiral. So I was in a scene in series 2 that set this entire arc up for season 3.
Okay.
So my character's name is Prince Red. He is the leader of the HVH gang, the Hurt Village Hustler gang, one of the newest, the 2 big gangs in Chucalissa, the fictional town in Mississippi where the show is set. So my character is the founder of the HVH crew, which is the group that Little Murder is a part of, right? So and Little Murder is like a son to me, So throughout the season, you get to see the development of this character and how, and there's several other characters because they go a little outside of the club this season. And we deal with a lot of the community politics and some of the things that's going on in the streets, although we spend ample amount of time at the Pink too. But there's a lot of exposition on what's going on around, and it really does affect what's happening in the Pink in a very profound way. So that's pretty much it without giving any spoilers. But yes, Prince Red is going to definitely be a unique addition to the cast.
I love it. Is there any particular type of characters you want to portray that you haven't yet?
I want to tell stories that really empower Black people.
Okay.
So, I'm as a writer, I've written a short play or a play, one-man show called Before Denzel, where I get to play some of those characters that you talked about. So Before Denzel, in a real quick nutshell, is about the 5 Black actors that sort of came before Denzel that helped build the character that Denzel ultimately became to be. So the first one is Ira Aldridge, who was a Black thespian in the 1800s, who moved to England. The second character is a brilliant Black comedian who worked in blackface. His name is Burt Williams, brilliant comedian, but Orson Welles said he was the funniest man he'd ever seen and also the saddest man that he'd ever known. right? So Burt Williams is the other. Then we move on to Oscar Micheaux, who is a filmmaker from the early 1900s, the first Black independent filmmaker. And then we go all the way up to Paul Robeson, Canada Lee, and we finish with, of course, Sidney Poitier. So
Nice.
those characters that I wrote for myself to play, I would love to play characters that really move the needle for Black progress.
I love it. Okay. So,
Mm.
what do you believe are some of the most common pitfalls for actors, both emerging and established?
That's a wonderful question, but I think some of the greatest pitfalls is not understanding the responsibility of the craft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not realizing that it's not just for you to get some cute pictures on a red carpet or, you know, some likes on your social media page, but we are literally influencers of the culture.
Right.
You know, our job is huge. We spoke a little bit about this at the screening the other night. You know, we are living in a very high tech, low touch society. And the war is not so much going to be between black and white or rich and poor, but more so between real and fake. And one thing the artist is capable of doing is reminding us of our humanity by being artists and our empathy and our soul that we put into it. So when we reduce this art to just purely entertainment, I
Mm-hmm.
think we do not only the artist a disservice, but we do the culture a disservice, because this art form and this ability to act and influence is super is a superpower, you know. And with great power comes great responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I want to talk about your on stage life skills training. What inspired you to establish your company?
So on skills, life skills is not just an acting training place. It's because as actors, as human beings, Shakespeare said the whole world is a stage and we're
Mm-hmm.
all players in it. And I ask people all the time, how many characters have you been since you woke up this morning? You know, we go through different characters, but we do it so unintentionally that we're not aware of it. So on stage training came because when I came to Atlanta, I realized customer service in this city was terrible. You know,
Mm.
I was like, this is terrible, man. This is, and it was consistently terrible all around. So I said, this is a business. You know, one thing that I like to do is solve problems as an artist. And I saw this as a problem. And as an entrepreneur, that's one of the main things I train young entrepreneurs to do is to look for problems, especially problems that can be solved for our people.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to use the skill set that I've developed as an actor and as I've developed as an acting coach to help people build characters for film and television and the stage. And we're going to transfer that skill set to the common man, to those non-artists. So we do help artists. Of course, we work with actors all the time, but we do workshops and seminars for customer training, for character building, for young people who have been so indoctrinated by technology that they don't know how to pull their head up and introduce themselves properly and shake hands and look at you now. So these are all the things that we do. And we say on stage life, because you're always on stage. Even
Very
when you're
true.
alone, you're performing for yourself,
Yeah.
you know? So we're always on, and we need to be intentional about how we act. You know, sometimes we act crazy. Sometimes we act like we got some sense. Sometimes we act like we have to be intentional about how we act.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we do it on stage.
I love it. Do you do in person or is your classes online?
Right now, we do I would say 90% of our sessions are online.
Okay.
They're one-on-one though. So we do one-on-one online training. And when I have the time, I'm going to do a class. I'm working out of a playhouse here in Fayetteville, Georgia, that we have partnered with. But because of the demand, I haven't had time to really sit and do the classes live yet. But I've been quote unquote substitute teaching at quite a few other acting classes throughout the city. So I haven't had a chance to establish my own just yet, but we will certainly do that. And yes, we will be doing. But the workshops are live. I actually go to the place of businesses or wherever they have, and we do a 4-hour live workshop right there on site. So the business workshops are absolutely in person.
Love it. So, what advice can you give to actors on staying resilient and persistent in this competitive industry? And then on top of that, what do you tell them how to deal with the no's?
Ah, that's tough, especially in a society where everybody's become so tender,
Yeah.
so sensitive. You know what I mean? Once upon a time they would just suck it up, but now it triggers so many things that, you know, when people get so much denial,
Hmm.
and it is the nature of our business, and it's a lot of things that you can't control. So I always say spirituality is the key to my foundation.
Hmm.
I stay grounded because I believe in something greater than myself, and I allow that to give me power to know that, I ask my creator to give me the strength and the courage to change the things that I can, you know, the wisdom to understand the things that I cannot, you know what I'm saying, and the strength to change it when I do have an opportunity. So the bottom line is you have to believe in something greater than yourself, because if you second guess every decision or every audition, it's going to get you spinning into a loop, a self-destructive loop that you have to break by just first and foremost knowing that you can only control what you can control.
Right.
Just and as hard as it is for us to want to control that which we cannot, the more we realize that we can't control it, the better off we'll be.
Yeah.
you know. So I think the best thing to do is to always find something to ground yourself. Be grateful, that you are auditioning, because auditioning is the job. You know, you can't control anything but what you do in that audition.
Yeah.
So as long as you're continuing to get auditions, then your performances are believable enough that they want to see you again.
Exactly.
Frame it in that perspective, control what you can control, and then I think you'll be able to sustain yourself. And then be occupied with other things. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Find other opportunities for yourself. Create, write, work with your community. See, a lot of people think when I say you have connections, they think you know Tyler Perry,
Right.
or you know what I'm saying, a Will Packer or something like that. But your connections are other artists just like you.
Yep.
People that you can share with and run lines with and create with. And these are the community connections that I speak of when I say you need to be connected in the business. So find a community to get connected with, and that will help alleviate some of that burden that you bear by yourself with all the rejection that we get in this business.
Yeah. That's one of the main things I say a lot at BBR. Like
Yes, you
the
do.
people are right there in the
You do.
room. Yeah. They're right there.
And you're so right. We forget that these are the creators. This is our community. When was the last time you was in a room with Will Packer or Tyler Perry or
Right.
any of those guys? You know, so let's be honest and let's be realistic. Let's build where we stand. Let's utilize the gifts that are right around us. And that will give us, again, it'll give us courage. They will encourage us with their courage and testimonies to know, okay, I auditioned for that too, but didn't get it. But, I feel good about, again, getting the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being in community with people and having something greater than yourself to rely on is definitely
Absolutely.
a tremendous way to do that.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. How do you balance your demanding acting career, you're married, and your family? So how do you balance both?
You got to know when to say no. And you got to know you can't save everything and everybody. Because as artists, we have a heart as big as all outdoors.
Yes, we do.
And we want to serve. You know this. You know this very, because this is your life.
Yeah.
Your service. You're a woman of service. And that's the heart that's in you. So we want to do it, but we have to realize that self-preservation is key.
Hmm.
If there's turbulence in the airplane and the mask still so happen to drop out the ceiling, they tell you to put it on your face first.
Yeah.
You can help those who you're traveling with. And that's what I always have to remind myself, because there's been times where I've gotten overwhelmed, but I have to, always remind myself that tranquility is first and foremost. And I'm better for everyone else when I'm good for me.
Yep. Yep. So you are the founding you are the inspiration behind founding the King in School Male Empowerment Mentoring Program,
Yes. Yes.
as well as you're the founding member of the Black Gents.
Yes. Yes.
Let's talk about it.
So the Black Gents, quickly, is the group that we started in California.
Okay.
Remember I told you I had a disdain for auditioning for Thug Number One for TV in
Yeah.
California. So the Black Gents was an original idea from 7 brothers, a few Tom Scott, Lamar Rucker, Leon Gray, Jason McGee, and I forgot Justin Bicos. So those are the founding brothers. And Leon Gray writes plays for Black men. We did a play called The Black Angels Over Tuskegee. And it was a play. We did other plays, We Be I Me, and some other plays, but The Black Angels was the one that really took off. And Leon still may even be doing that play in places. But it was a show that brought us all together as Black men to celebrate Black history. We talked about the Tuskegee Airmen, and that's where that was born. And now it has evolved. Most of the brothers now live in Atlanta.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. So we're looking to do more involvement here in Atlanta under the Black Gents umbrella. And the Kings program is my baby. So the Kings is to keep inspiring next generations. And so Kings started off because my daughter, Justice, was in a program when she was in elementary school called Pearls that was sponsored by the AKAs. And they would meet in school once a week, and it was like a little, etiquette little thing. I thought it was very nice. But I also was like, do y'all have anything for boys? Is any of the fraternities doing anything for the boys? No. So, I couldn't have that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I went to the school and said, look, I really want to do something similar for the boys. And we can do it, but I want to do it in school, just like the Pearls, not after school. And I want the teachers to recommend the boys to the program. So this was 7 years ago. And our first cohort of boys have graduated from high school. And the program is for 5th grade boys that are getting ready to go to middle school. And we speak about puberty. It's a 4-tier program. The first tier is puberty. The second tier, we talk finance. The third tier, we talk about peer pressure and basically problem solving. And then the fourth one, we talk health and wellness, where we exercise and we give the boys the foundation on how to live healthy from this point forward. And it takes about 12 weeks. We start about 6 weeks into the school year, and we meet once a week on Tuesdays, and actually more than 12 weeks. And we culminate with a ceremony, which is this Wednesday. The culmination is this Wednesday, where we have the parents come out, the administrators. We're doing a competition this year, and they're being judged. Everybody gets a certificate for completing, but they're being judged on all of these skill sets that they've learned. And the one who performs the best gets a cash prize. So
I love it.
We ideally want to sort of go with them throughout their school year, sort of matriculate with them, but we're still building out the platform and getting the funding, and so right now we just really stay focused on the 5th grade boys. We've been invited to come to the middle school and the high school, and we just want to make sure everything. And as an actor, I want to be there. Sometimes the demand becomes a little bit because of work. So I don't know. We got to train up some guys to really be able to do it as we progress. So but that's my baby, and I'm so proud of that program. And the young men respond so well, and I see them in the streets and don't even recognize some of them sometime now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you were one of the panelists at BBR Indie Films.
Yes.
What was your take on being there?
Magical, my dear sister. I thought it was magical on multiple levels. The first level I thought was just the community that you assembled, the people that were there, all these beautiful creators and artists and actors and writers and agents and managers. And it was exactly what we speak on when we say the community we need to build out something beautiful. You accomplished that, number one. Number two, the assembly of, so you're more than welcome. The assembly of the art, the filmmakers, the films themselves, to give these films the light of day, to be seen on the big screen, to give these young, and it was so many young filmmakers there, to give them a platform to inspire them to go further. You know what I'm saying? To say this is just the beginning, the best is yet to come for you. I just, you're giving them an opportunity to launch, you know. And I think that launching pad is extremely valuable in a city where people need permission to be great. You know what I'm saying? And then the final blessing of the night was just when we did leave, the networking, the intentionality of you, like you said, let's get to the jobs. Let's find where we can actually connect and not just network, but build together. Let's make some money. Let's make some art. Let's leave a legacy. You know, to me, that is the coup d'etat, because so many times we leave things on the drawing board. But you were adamant throughout the night in making sure that this just wasn't an opportunity to be seen and to fellowship, but let's take this further and let's build something together. And I thought it was vanguard, to be honest, my dear sister. You know what I'm saying? That's revolutionary right there.
I appreciate you saying that. And I also wanted to make sure that, it's very important to me because as you see at the event, I'm very family oriented, right? I believe
Yes, yes,
teaching my boys how to become entrepreneurs, teaching them all these
absolutely.
different types of things. And so putting them on the forefront so that people see them and get to see us working together and everything. I think that all of that resonates because you do have a lot of the younger actors and different
Yes,
stuff in the room, and they need to see people that look like them
yes.
down there doing the thing. So I appreciate you saying that for sure.
Well, I
So
mean every word.
I appreciate that. So my final question for you is: looking ahead, what are your hopes and aspirations for your work, both on and off stage or off screen?
Well, great question. Another phenomenal question. And I just want to continue. I've really taken part in this idea called Black Restoration. So
Hmm.
Black Restoration is the restoration of Black pride, health, and wealth of Black people in America and beyond. And I think the tip of the spear of the Black Restoration movement is the restorative art movement. We talked about how the NAACP at the screening was at the forefront of creating the Harlem Renaissance
Hmm.
because the activists understood how important the artists were to giving Black people in particular permission to be great. So the Harlem Renaissance was 2 generations after slavery to give the new Negro permission. We're now moving into an era of history that humankind has never seen before.
Hmm.
This technology, this automation and AI is concerning, yet it's an opportunity for us to again become as human as possible, to get
Hmm.
back to going out into the theater and creating together and working together and telling stories about our history because we're losing our history. You see, they're trying to erase it in so many subtle and unsubtle ways. So I think in the future for me, I'm going to be more engaged in restorative art, telling stories that help build our communities and inspire our people to be their very best selves.
I love it. I love it. So, how can people follow you and get in contact with you if they want to book you? Do you work with indie films people?
Girl, yes, I do. I work with indie films as much as I work with the big budget boys, more so because I feel vested in the indie films. So, and I know the money's not the same and all that, but as long as we're treating each other fair, then I think
Right.
that's the key. So, yes, I work with indie films, and if anyone wants to work with me, they can clearly go to www.onstagelife.com.
Dot
There,
com.
you can find me there first and foremost. And on social media, the only social media I'm on right now is Instagram because I've peeled back, dialed back, and I think Instagram is sufficient. And there you can find me at Mr. And we spell out the entire Mister, Mr. Jones, Mr. J Jones. And I look forward to connecting with them on Instagram or at onstagelife.com.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on Transparency Talks podcast and being transparent with us all. We truly appreciate you breaking down everything and really educating us. So, thank
Miss
you.
Miss Queen Butter B Rocker, it has been an honor and a pleasure. And whenever you call, just know I'm coming.
Y'all heard it, right?
For you, I'll be there, my dear sister.
I appreciate you saying that. That means I gotta dial back the smile. I'm smiling super hard. But thank you for saying that.
That smile is beautiful, girl. It's ready. Never dial back that smile.
I appreciate it. Well, with that, everybody, we are out of here and we're going to talk to you guys later. So peace out, y'all.
Peace.
Okay, you stay, but peace out, y'all. Bye.